Are you a woman of color? Are you struggling to find your voice in a Western country or even in your own country? Because a lot has changed since, we are exposed to many more podcasts to know other strong women who have a voice and who are the leaders, and we all are look up to them to make a better life for ourselves. Well, if you are, this episode is for you. Hi, my name is Helia Singh. I'm a wealth coach and I can help you to fast track to financial freedom. But in today's episode, as part of our making a library for you to watch these amazing life coaches to find who you really resonate with and have a conversation to make your life better, I'm speaking with my good friend, Richa Joshi. Richa Joshi, she is an amazing woman. She's got a wealth of knowledge, wisdom, and experience. And of course, never have to add that one as well. She is a diversity and inclusion practitioner. So she absolutely understands how it works and how women of color need to be recognized or how to overcome the adversity at work, at life, just to be heard and, we embrace the life that is meant to be for us. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Joshi to our podcast. Hi, Joshi. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone. It's lovely to be here with you, Helia, today. I love that the intersectionality that you and I have is of Iran and of India. And I'm like, yay!
Exactly. And I'm married to Indian. So, of course, my kids have got the best of both worlds.
Of course we do. Of course we do. Yes.
And well done. Before we start the recording, we just had a chat that it's amazing that why there are not that many of us out there. And I know it's a very it's a privilege in what we're doing, and we'll get to help other women, especially women of color. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to hear from your side, how did you come to become a diversity and inclusion practitioner, and what is it, and what is in there for you, and what is the purpose for you to do this?
It's a long journey. It's a long journey. When I started my, in a way, activism, I was still in college in India, and I just finished, I think, college in India. And a group of my friends, girls, and a couple of gentlemen, we started an organization, a not-for-profit called Adila. And it was to uplift the women in a specific part of India where there was still a lot of prevalence of um, stigma against widows and different skills that they never had. Now, financial freedom for women is a very big thing, right? For respect and everything else. But in our country at that time, this is almost 25, 30 years ago, right? There was no importance given to that kind of financial independence for women. So we decided to do that. We taught them skills. We ultimately ended up selling that entire thing to a larger, bigger not-for-profit. So that's where the whole idea of activism kind of started. And I ended up in uni in the US and was a president of the international club there. And because I've grown up across America, Europe, and India, and now Australia, the bouts of racism were a bit of, they were there. It was there, but it was a bit different because I still spoke English much better than the local native. So while they would say something, I would revert back, right? But it was a constant theme throughout. So whatever I was bigoted against, whatever I was made to feel bad about, whether it was by the non-Indian community or even the Indian community, my children faced that when they were younger. And I was like, well, nothing has changed, right? And in the theme, in the grand scheme of things, I was doing a lot of corporate coaching while I was still in India. And I would see that, and this was around the time when a lot of outsourcing was happening to India. So there was lots of call centers, a lot of KPMG stuff happening, all kinds of things, right? And we were being told as employees of those organizations that we have to act American, speak like an American, talk like an Australian, talk like a British person, and to also dress like that. India is a warm country. You can't be always wearing, suits and ties. Is just not logical, right? And that too on phone calls. I mean, who's seeing it, right? And the accent. So that was getting me really uncomfortable. And with a friend of mine, I started a coaching company, and we were contracting work to a number of different places where we did a lot of soft skills training. So assertiveness without losing your roots, time management done different, so all those things. And then we moved to Australia. So it's been a long journey to becoming a diversity, equity, inclusion coach, because at that time, these words were not even spoken about.
Absolutely.
And coming from your line of work as well, Helia, you would know coaches have a bad rep because of some bad seeds, right? So people don't take a lot of it seriously. So that's, it's been a journey of establishing. It's been a journey of understanding and learning a lot of things, facing a lot of nonsense, and then saying, hey, this is my purpose. I would like to work with migrant women of color because I know and I have experienced the experience of being othered just
Yes.
because of my skin color. Maybe a lot of my clients get othered because of their religious preferences, what they eat, simple things
Yes.
like that we take for granted because we are different. And yeah, I want to celebrate their difference and make them go from place A to place B, because that's all coaching is, A to B, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. Well done. Well done. I really commend you for what you do and what you've done. At young age, you started this, and obviously you had that passion to create something better for everyone. And that's what this is all about, that we want to connect with people who are in the same level of vibration and similar purpose and values.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, personally, as a migrant women of color who came to Australia 27 years ago, because when I came from Iran, I couldn't actually speak English.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I had my honors degree back home, so I came here and I couldn't speak English. So when I went to uni, I literally had the dictionary next to me to first translate what it's saying and do the work, and then again translate it back. This is how I got my degree. And I remember, and still to this day, my accent has always been my thing, like when you say color or religion or something. It's just, and I have even heard it from people, from some clients, white clients, that, when I went to see them, or they came to see me because they were referred by someone to talk to me. And after we finished the session, they said to me, for someone, who is new in this country, you know a lot. You are not bad. And I said, well, I don't know whether I should take it as a compliment or not. Yeah, so which I'm sure they meant well, but we know, because we are
Yes, we know.
the other side, we know what that means, that they didn't expect just by looking at me or at first, opening my mouth and talking and listening to my accent. Well, probably she doesn't know much.
Right.
She's new in this country, but they don't know that. Look, I've dedicated more than 25 years of my life in finance and economy, and and I've been living in 3 different cities in Australia, so I'm very well aware of what's going on in Australia, large macroeconomy and microeconomy. So yeah, it's all about that perception, that what people have of us.
Right.
And then they write it, is somehow they write it in our walls, and then we just think, oh, maybe they're right, maybe
Yes.
maybe I'm
And
not good enough.
that happens to, I'm not going to say that doesn't happen to male presenting humans. It happens to male presenting humans as well as female presenting humans. But when we add these layers of microaggressions, whether they're intentional or not, we need to, if we want to reach here as women of color, we have to surpass all of this microaggression, the bigotry, the perceptions, and the conditioning of society before we can even get there. And that's exhausting.
It
Because
is.
you're traversing a bridge which is full of baggage, which is cultural trauma, generational stuff as well. And white women who are my clients also face that same thing, because they face a different sort of an invisible, bigotry of sorts. hey, you're from Scotland, you know, you will be mad.
Yeah.
And I just look at it, I'm like, why is this
Yeah.
becoming such a big thing? How about my abilities and my
Yeah.
experience? And then that's the line of work you and I are
Yes.
in.
Exactly. And never to say to you that, look, when we're talking about the imposter syndrome, is a big thing for women comparing men. I don't like to generalize usually, but I know at least in work that I met, I see it, or at least women are more are ready to admit it rather than men. So that's why the perception again is this, that women have or suffer more of an imposter syndrome. Because we think, oh, who am I to do this? Or what if
Right,
they found out that maybe I'm not good enough? So
right.
it's just that self-talks is just
Mm-hmm.
makes us stuck in there. And not
Yes,
going back to what you mentioned about the coaches got a bad rap, unfortunately. Oh, there are some bad cities everywhere, doesn't matter.
everywhere,
Even we have
everywhere
it
in
in the
every industry.
religion sector to even, other areas, even scientists or doctors. So it
Mm-hmm,
doesn't
mm-hmm.
matter. But I think one thing is because there is no degree in any university to say that become a coach. Like, I mean, when we went to uni, there was
Mm-hmm.
no such a thing as being a coach as a career. Okay. So there
Mm-hmm.
was nobody, came to uni to say, yes, we are just taking students for, the summer work and okay, become a coach. Coach was never in the
No,
radar.
no, it
And that's
wasn't.
why, so there are not that many people who are trained well to become a coach.
That's 100% true. That's very true, which is where all these different certifications like the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, become such a big and
Yes.
very important, kind of like a stamp behind your name,
Yes.
because it provides us the guidelines to be ethical, to do the right thing, right? Because some of the people who have not been trained have just come up and said, oh, it's if you do 5 of these things, then this will
Yes.
happen instantly. It doesn't. You
No.
know, nothing is
Exactly.
happening instantly, you know?
Exactly. I wish it does. Well, law
That
of
would be good.
attraction doesn't work like that at
No,
all.
it
At
doesn't.
all. Yes.
It
There's a
doesn't.
lot of work has to be
Manifesting,
done.
all of those things, wishing, affirmations, nothing
Yeah.
happens unless we put
The
work
work.
into it. Just wishing for it and journaling every day is not going to work if you don't actually do anything about it, right? So yeah, so that definitely is there. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, that's great, wonderful. So tell me, and obviously our audience, that so how, I mean, what kind of programs you have? How can you help them to, with your skills?
Of
And
course.
what is that A to B? So
What is
please,
that A to B?
yes. What is A in your eyes, and what is the B, so you can take them there?
Of course. So let me do it this with an example of, say, my ideal client, right? Um, you would be a person who is looking to achieve something. All of us, irregardless of our race and our gender or any preferences that we have aspirations and dreams and what I call in Hindi, ichha, right? You want to do
Mm.
something, right? Um, Biologically, it's also been said that women have this entire, some coding that happens with us where we want to do better. We want to do better for others as well, right? We're more giving. It's just a biological code. Anyway, so if you are one of those clients who wants to go from place A, which is you're feeling stuck about something, you're feeling anxious or frustrated that the cycle keeps repeating again and again, can help you work through all of that trauma, all of the negative beliefs, the limiting beliefs, and we can co-create a plan to go from place A to whatever it is that your place B is. You don't necessarily have to be working for someone or be a small business owner or a big business owner, whatever it is. The personal is never separate from the work or the outside. It's your values, and we can identify those and then go from there and make it in such a way that post my sessions or my program, you don't need a coach anymore because you know how to do things on your own, right? Please come back to me if you need help. Yes, but you know what I'm saying. So you go from place A to place B. In the situation with when it comes to migrant women of color, we are coming from cultures that are very different, especially if we are living in a country which is predominantly white, from a very different culture, different conditioning, different societies, different sorts of expectations are put on us because we belong to that culture or that country. And we come to a white country and we're like, oh, so those expectations are back home. I can actually do whatever I want. But the internal dialogue that we have been taught, trained, heard since the ages of 0 to 7, then 7 to 25, those formative years, it's hard to surmount it. It's hard to surmount it for any person. And when you add this baggage and the generational trauma, the cultural stuff, it becomes really hard. So I can help you overcome that. I use a lot of different techniques. I use neurolinguistic programming, timeline therapy. I use a lot of my knowledge from my corporate days as well to actually put in systems and processes that work for you. One thing cannot fit everyone, right? So that's what I do. With corporates, I also offer an option where it is corporate sponsored coaching, where the corporate hires me and says X, Y, and Z are looking for this help. And usually that happens after a performance review.
Mhm.
And I can work with them on that personal bit so that the values of this person and the organizational values are somewhat meeting.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, it's good for the corporate, right? To have someone who's going to be there for a longer time and is also happy and joyous at work. And I do one-on-one coaching. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you covered it all.
I've tried because I have that corporate background, right? Working with over 150 organizations across India and universities and stuff like that, doing speaking gigs. The need is there and
Yes.
they're right here. So why not work with it on both sides, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially if you're living in Australia or anyway, and now the world has become one small village. So I mean, even if you are working now in your own country, you never know. In 6 months' time, you might end up going to another country
Mm-hmm.
to work. So it's not
And even
those
if you're
days are
transferring
gone.
between cities, like you said, Helia, you were in Sydney and Melbourne before, and now you're
Yeah,
here. It makes a big difference. The culture changes city to
absolutely.
city. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I actually share this with you that when I came to Perth, I've never felt um, racism as much in other cities than Perth.
Really? Wow.
Never felt it in Melbourne, Sydney, but I felt it in Perth.
Okay, my
My
experience has been
daughter felt
opposite,
it.
actually.
Yeah, my kids are born here. Obviously, they think of themselves as Australians, so even though they have parents from two different
India and
nationalities, but
Iran, yeah.
yeah, but they consider themselves Australian. I remember one day, she was just grade 2 or 3. Yeah, she came home and she was crying. I said, "What happened?" She said, "Oh, at the music class, her teacher brought her 4-year-old, 5-year-old, child because he was sick and couldn't go to childcare, brought it to the music class. And this child went to my daughter, and my daughter, she's not that dark, but went to my child and just put like that to look at his finger to see if there is a color there.
Mm.
And even though the teacher said sorry to my daughter and said, I'm sorry, my son hasn't seen that many people, blah, blah, but that shows what a small minded people that they only deal with only white people, that their child has not been exposed to people from.
Yeah, that's very true. That is also very similar to the reason why I started dualation. My son came back from daycare wanting to be scrubbed because he'd been told by other kids that his skin color was of poo and he was dirty.
Wow.
And he wanted to change his name from Share to Tom. First, I was like, that is so generic. Please don't. you know. And second, what? So while there are kids, and to all of your listeners as well, I say this, while there are children, they are not the ones who are racist because they are learning from you as the parent. They're learning from the communities that you take them into, the people that you interact with. And it is very rightly said that children do not run and learn racism. Racism is something that's taught. It's first of all a human construct, so therefore it's a taught thing, right? So if we want to really be an equitable society, it's good to meet other people, especially people of color, because we're here. We form over 63% of the population, right?
And you're not going anywhere.
No, we're not. And plus, the government actually asked us to come. A lot of us, they asked us to come, right? And we're here. We are also your doctors. We are also the people who are cleaning your homes. We're feeding you. We're doing a lot of different things that you yourself are doing. So in 2023, it's about time that we start actually opening our minds up and doing that. And that was the reason why I started Dual Nation, by putting two countries' flags. So when I make something for you, it'll be an Iranian flag and the Indian flag, because that's your, and you were 100% right. My daughter, she was born here. She considers herself to be an Australian. And I have no issues with that. But she's as dark as I am. So I'm like, oh, child. Oh, please tell her that you were Indian Australian, okay? Indian origin, Australian citizenship. That's and create that pride right from the beginning, because it's not just differences, it's actually celebrating that difference, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much for that. Well, folks, if you are a woman of color, or if you know a woman of color, please tag them on this post. They would love to listen to this and learn that there are actually some of us out there holding the flags and helping the women from color to, to embrace their life and to celebrate their life, as you mentioned, and you said it very well. And it is time to go for what you really wanted. Go for your passion. Don't let your, generational talks and perception of others blocks you from your success.
100%. And if you need someone who is going to work with you on your wealth, Helia is the woman to go to. I mean, seriously, lots of awesomeness there. Everyone, thank you very much for listening in. Helia, thank you so much for this opportunity.
No, really, really appreciate that. I can't wait to catch up for coffee. So yes, yeah.
100%.
Thanks, everyone. And thank you so much to my white friends for your support. Please give a thumbs up, like, and share this video with your other colleagues, without even feeling there that's to say that, oh, maybe this is not good to share with someone who is in color. No, we want you to actually share this.
Yes, because this is all about allyship. We can't do this solo. We have to do this together.
Yes, because diversity and inclusion is an act. We are not just talking about it. We have to show in our actions that we really support this. So 100%. Let's be together and let's do it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. And until next episode, have a happy, healthy, wealthy life. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.